In the quiet suburbs of northwest Houston, a single-story brick home stood at the end of a cul-de-sac. From the outside, it looked like any other safe American home, porch light glowing, a pair of cars in the drive, the sound of sprinklers clicking in the distance. Inside lived the Elliott family, a mother, a father, and their 17-year-old twins, Benjamin and Meghan. They were the sort of siblings people envied, born minutes apart, sharing birthdays, classes, even friends. Teachers described them as bright and polite. Meghan had a spark for art and animals. Benjamin loved computers and puzzles, different, yet connected like two halves of one rhythm. No one in that neighborhood could have imagined what was about to happen. September 28th, 2021. Dinner finished around 9. The twins cleaned the kitchen while their parents prepared for bed. Benjamin, according to later statements, spent time studying and then video chatting with a friend. He was proud of a new gift, a U.S. Air Force survival knife, something he'd received from a relative who served in the military. He placed it on his desk, admiring its weight, before setting it back in its sheath. At 11:45 p.m. the house went dark. Security cameras outside caught nothing unusual. By midnight, everyone was asleep. The next time the clock mattered, it was flashing 4 a.m. on a glowing digital display. A dispatcher at Harris County's emergency center answered a trembling 911 call. "I just killed my sister. I thought it was a dream. I woke up and there was blood. She's bleeding. I don't know why." Over 8 minutes. Benjamin stayed on the line. He followed instructions. Check for breathing, apply pressure, begin CPR. Officers and paramedics rushed to the address. When they arrived, Meghan was on the bedroom floor. Benjamin knelt beside her, hands and clothes covered in blood. He told the first officer, "I was asleep. I didn't mean to." Investigators later described a strange calm in the room. There were no signs of struggle, no overturned furniture, no forced entry. The knife lay on the carpet, its sheath nearby. The pillow Benjamin had used to stem the bleeding was soaked. Detective Laura Hernandez. He looked lost. Not scared the way a guilty person looks, just vacant. He kept asking if she was breathing, even though the paramedics were already there. Benjamin was taken into custody without resistance. His parents, awakened by sirens, were escorted outside as officers began documenting the scene. Neighbors gathered in confusion, filming lights flashing against the night. Sky.at the sheriff's office. A recording device clicked on. Benjamin sat in a gray sweatshirt, eyes down. Detective Hernandez began the formal questioning. "Benjamin, tell me what happened tonight." "I don't know. I went to bed. I woke up and she was there. I thought I was dreaming." "Did you argue with Meghan before bed?" "No. Never. We don't fight." He repeated the phrase, "I thought it was a dream," 9 times during the first 30-minute session. Toxicology tests would later show no drugs, no alcohol, nothing that could explain a blackout. By dawn, local news already carried the headline, "Texas teen charged after twin sister found dead." At school, teachers canceled classes for counseling sessions. Friends posted tributes online. They were inseparable. The tragedy felt impossible to understand. How could one twin harm the other? Comment sections filled with speculation. Jealousy, hidden anger, possession, sleepwalking. None of it made sense yet. Detectives themselves were divided. One investigator whispered to a colleague, "If he's acting, he's the best I've ever seen." Benjamin underwent a full psychological and neurological evaluation. Doctors noted that he described vivid dreams since childhood, dreams in which he moved or spoke. His parents confirmed mild sleepwalking episodes but said they were harmless. No one could have predicted violence. Still, the evidence was stark. Meghan had been stabbed multiple times. Her wounds were deep and precise, consistent with an attack carried out by someone awake and coordinated. How could a sleeping person manage that? Benjamin appeared before a juvenile magistrate. Reporters filled the benches, microphones ready. He was charged as an adult with murder. His attorney requested a psychiatric evaluation and warned the media not to jump to conclusions. Outside the courthouse, the family released a short statement. "Our hearts are shattered. We ask for prayers for both our children." That brief message became the emotional headline of the week. By the end of that first week, the facts were few and the theories endless. The phrase sleepwalking defense began circulating online, two words that would define the years to come for investigators. The next step was to look deeper into Benjamin's mind, his sleep history, his digital records, his life before that night. What they found would confuse even the experts, and so the investigation began slow, methodical, and haunted by one impossible question. Can a person truly kill someone they love while asleep? When officers entered the Eliott home, they met confusion, disbelief, and the hollow quiet that follows a family tragedy. But for investigators, that silence was only the beginning. In the hours that followed, they began to unravel a mystery that would test science, psychology, and the limits of family loyalty. This is Romance and Blood TV. The first detectives on site began what every investigator calls scene integrity. Body cameras recorded the living room lights still glowing, kitchen drawers half open, and a trail of red across polished floors. Uniformed officers quietly guided Benjamin to a chair. He appeared pale, bewildered, his hands trembling. A supervising sergeant later noted in his report that Benjamin kept asking the same question over and over. "Is she breathing? Please tell me she's okay." The answer, of course, had already been confirmed by paramedics. At precinct headquarters, detectives started what's known as a walkthrough interview. Benjamin was read his rights and asked to describe, in his own words, what happened. He spoke softly. "I woke up. She was on the floor. I thought it was a dream." Officers noted there was no sign of forced entry. The kitchen knife, matching a set from their own countertop, was recovered nearby. Fingerprints belonged only to Benjamin and his sister. One detective, later questioned in court, said, "It didn't feel like a burglary or a fight. It felt like something that happened in confusion." Forensic teams documented every surface. They took swabs for DNA, photographed footprints, and bagged the bedding. Toxicology screens would later show no alcohol or drugs in either twins' system. The medical examiner's report described the injuries in clinical, non-graphic terms. Multiple wounds consistent with a close-range attack, most occurring within seconds. Time of death, approximately 2:15 a.m. The precision of that timeline would become crucial later, because Benjamin's phone data showed he placed a 911 call at 2:17 a.m. just 2 minutes later. From the very first day, investigators faced an unsettling question. Could Benjamin have been asleep, literally unconscious, when he killed his sister? His parents mentioned that as a teenager he sometimes walked in his sleep. Neighbors recalled lights turning on at odd hours. Detectives, uncertain what to make of it, ordered a full psychiatric and neurological evaluation. Dr. Karen Motson, a sleep medicine specialist, conducted the first battery of tests. Her preliminary note read, "Subject exhibits potential parasomnia behaviors under stress. Further testing recommended." To law enforcement, it sounded like a possible defense strategy taking shape. To the family, it was a lifeline. Within 48 hours, the story broke on local news. Man says he stabbed twin sister while sleepwalking. The phrase sleepwalking killer spread fast. Reporters camped outside the courthouse, digging into school records, social media posts, and any childhood anecdotes they could find. As speculation grew, the family pleaded for privacy. Benjamin's parents released a short statement. "We love both of our children. We ask for compassion as we search for understanding." On social media, sympathy battled outrage. Half the comments demanded accountability. Others asked how anyone could blame a man who might not have been awake. Tell us in the comments, what do you think when science meets tragedy? Is sleepwalking a shield from responsibility or just another form of denial? Electrodes tracked his brain activity, heart rate, and muscle movement. During one session, He suddenly sat upright, mumbling unintelligibly, then lay back down, all while remaining technically asleep. Doctors noted episodes consistent with non-REM parasomnia. For the defense team, this data suggested that his story might hold scientific ground. For prosecutors, it proved only that he had a sleep disorder, not that he killed in his sleep. Assistant District Attorney Claire Denton summarized the state's position later in court. A person may have sleepwalking tendencies. That does not mean every act of violence can be excused as unconscious. Investigators reconstructed a minute-by-minute sequence using smart home data. Between 2:09 and 2:13 a.m., motion sensors detected movement in the kitchen and hallway. It wasn't definitive proof of wakefulness or sleep, but it narrowed the window. The prosecution saw deliberation. The defense saw confusion. In the quiet Houston suburb where it all happened, neighbors organized a vigil, candles lined the sidewalk, posters carried the sister's name beside words of forgiveness. A family friend spoke. They were inseparable. He adored her. None of us can make sense of it. After 6 months of investigation, prosecutors filed a single count of murder. The indictment stated that Benjamin Elliott intentionally and knowingly caused the death of his sister. The defense entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity or automatism, a rare claim invoking involuntary action during sleep. Pre-trial hearings began quietly. Psychiatrists testified about sleep violence, a condition documented but poorly understood. Experts disagreed on whether a sleepwalker could perform complex tasks like locating a knife, crossing rooms, and attacking another person. The judge ordered the jury to be sequestered for what promised to be a long and difficult trial. By the time the trial date was set, nearly a year had passed. Benjamin appeared gaunter, eyes downcast. Reporters noted that his parents attended every hearing, sitting together in silence. This is Romance and Blood TV. Don't forget to like this video if you believe stories like this should be told responsibly, and subscribe so you never miss the next videos like this. After nearly a year of silence, the doors of the Harris County Courthouse opened to the public once more. Inside, reporters filled every seat. Families sat shoulder to shoulder, eyes downcast. The state of Texas versus Benjamin Elliott was about to begin. This was no ordinary murder trial. Whether a person can commit a terrible act while sound asleep, the prosecution stood first, calm, deliberate. They told the jurors a simple story. Benjamin Elliott knowingly took a life. They described an organized home, a retrieved kitchen knife, and a call to 911 placed seconds after the attack. They argued that every movement required awareness. Then the defense rose. Their message was very different. They spoke of parasomnia, of minds that can rise and move while the body sleeps. They asked jurors to imagine a nightmare so vivid that action and dream become one. The room fell quiet, and no one knew which version they would believe. Over several days, the state called investigators, medical examiners, and digital forensics analysts. Detectives walked the jury through the timeline. Motion sensors, light switches, phone data, each point, they said, showed intention. A forensic specialist described fingerprints, clean and orderly, as if someone had gripped the handle firmly. The state. That meant purpose. They reminded jurors that sleepwalkers rarely perform complex tasks with precision. Another expert, this one a neurologist for the prosecution, explained that parasomnia episodes are usually short, aimless, and confused. He concluded that sustained, directed violence was extremely improbable. Throughout these testimonies, Benjamin sat still, head low, his parents close behind him. When it was their turn, the defense team changed the atmosphere. They didn't deny what happened. They questioned how it happened. They began with Benjamin's history, medical records showing episodes of sleep disturbance since adolescence. They showed hospital notes of stress-related parasomnia and family testimony that he had once awoken standing in the kitchen. Bewildered, Dr. Karen Motson, the sleep medicine specialist, became the centerpiece of the defense. She explained brain wave charts, sleep cycles, and the rare disorder known as non-REM sleep violence. Her calm, clinical tone contrasted with the tension in the room. During deep non-REM sleep, she said, The brain's motor pathways can activate while consciousness remains offline. The person appears awake but is neurologically asleep. The jurors scribbled notes. Reporters whispered comparisons to past cases, few of which had ever succeeded. Prosecutors pressed hard. They asked whether a sleepwalker could locate a knife drawer, walk to another room, and strike multiple times without waking. Dr. Motson admitted it was rare, very rare, but not impossible. That single phrase echoed through the courthouse. Not impossible. In the following days, defense attorneys called psychologists who testified about automatic behavior, night terrors, and post-episode amnesia. Each expert built a fragile bridge between science and doubt. The state countered with logic. If he was asleep, they asked, why did he call for help immediately after? Why not awaken in another part of the house? Confused and lost, there was no easy answer. Family and friends filled the witness list. A childhood friend recalled the twins' closeness. They finished each other's sentences. He'd never hurt her. Neighbors described quiet evenings, study sessions, shared laughter. The prosecution, meanwhile, avoided personal attacks. They simply reminded jurors that affection doesn't erase responsibility. Through it all, Benjamin seldom spoke. His voice came only once, in a recorded police interview replayed for the court. He sounded dazed, repeating, "I thought I was dreaming." Some jurors looked away, others stared, trying to decide whether confusion could sound that real. The trial became a classroom. Charts of brain waves glowed on large screens. Two specialists debated, one calling the sleepwalking claim credible, the other calling it convenient. Each side cited medical journals and prior cases from Canada, the UK, and Australia. The judge occasionally paused proceedings to clarify complex terminology for the jurors. What emerged was not certainty but complexity, a reminder that human consciousness remains one of science's deepest mysteries. After weeks of testimony, the lawyers prepared their final words. The prosecution stood first once again. Their closing was restrained yet forceful. Sleepwalking may explain wandering. It does not explain pursuit. They replayed Benjamin's 911 call, emphasizing coherence in his voice. They asked jurors to weigh facts, not sympathy. Then the defense made their appeal. They spoke softly about tragedy, family, and the limits of understanding. If there is reasonable doubt about awareness, they said, then, by law, you must find him not guilty. Both sides sat down to silence. The judge read the final instructions. 12 jurors rose and disappeared into deliberation. Hours passed. Outside, cameras waited. Social media feeds lit up. Inside the jury room, evidence folders covered the table. According to later interviews, some jurors struggled with science more than emotion. One reportedly said, "I believe he loved her. I just don't know if love can erase an action." By nightfall, they had not reached agreement. The judge sent them home with instructions to return the next morning. As deliberations stretched on, crowds gathered outside. Some carried signs demanding accountability. Others held candles for both siblings. News commentators debated morality versus biology. Talk shows questioned whether sleepwalking should ever excuse a violent act. And here on Romance and Blood TV, we ask you the same question. If a mind is asleep but the body acts, who is guilty, the dreamer or the dream itself? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you believe real-life stories should be told with depth and respect. On the final morning, the courtroom filled before sunrise. Families held hands. Benjamin entered quietly, escorted by deputies. Face unreadable, the judge called for order. Then, without warning, the bailiff announced, "The jury has reached a verdict." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Reporters poised their pens. Benjamin's parents bowed their heads. You've been watching Romance and Blood TV. If you've stayed with us this far, you know this isn't just about crime, it's about the human mind, responsibility, and the fragility of love. The jury filed back into the courtroom after nearly a full day of deliberation. 12 citizens carrying the weight of a single, impossible question. Was Benjamin Elliott awake or asleep when tragedy struck? Cameras waited outside. Inside, the air felt heavy enough to still the breath in every chest. When the foreperson stood, the entire courtroom rose. The judge asked the formal question, and the words came in a calm, practiced tone. "We, the jury, find the defendant." The decision was read aloud, bringing both closure and heartbreak. For the family, there were no winners. One child gone forever. The other defined by a single night that could never be undone. Because court transcripts remain public record, Benjamin Elliott was found guilty of murder under Texas law. The court sentenced him in accordance with the statute, acknowledging both the evidence and the unusual psychological factors presented. When the verdict echoed through the room, Benjamin remained still. Reporters described him as pale, whispering only, "I'm sorry." His parents wept quietly. The prosecutor placed a hand on the lead detective's shoulder. Even in victory, there was no celebration. In the weeks that followed, national headlines revisited the case. Journalists debated whether the justice system had truly understood the science of sleep disorders. Editorials asked, should intention always be required for punishment? Legal analysts noted that the Eliott case would likely become a reference point for future studies of sleep violence. Medical journals later cited it among examples that challenged a boundary between consciousness and accountability. Outside academia, the family retreated from the public eye. They issued a brief statement thanking supporters and asking for privacy, emphasizing that their faith remained their only anchor. In Houston, candlelight vigils continued for months. At T1 Memorial, a friend of the twins said softly to a reporter, "We light 2 candles every year, one for who we lost, and one for who we hope can someday find peace." Online comments mirrored that sentiment. Some viewers wrote messages of anger, others wrote prayers. And here on Romance and Blood TV, we ask you the same. What does justice look like when the line between sleep and wakefulness blurs? Share your thoughts below. We read every respectful comment. Benjamin begins serving his sentence within the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. According to court records, he receives ongoing psychological care and medication monitoring. Sleep specialists continue to study similar cases, hoping one day to predict or prevent such tragedies before they occur. Family members, through a spokesperson, said their focus remains on healing, visiting gravesites, supporting mental health initiatives, and funding research into parasomnia disorders. They've declined most interviews, preferring quiet remembrance to renewed publicity. The Eliott case reignited public curiosity about the mysteries of the sleeping mind. Sleep laboratories across the U.S. saw a surge in volunteers for parasomnia research. Doctors explained that true sleepwalking violence remains exceedingly rare, yet studying it could reveal how stress, trauma, and the brain's survival instincts intersect. Some scientists now explore whether technology, smart home sensors, or wearable devices might detect dangerous episodes before harm occurs. What was once a courtroom argument is now an ongoing scientific pursuit. Every true crime story carries 2 layers: the event and the echo. The event ends in a courtroom. The echo lives in those left behind. For the Eliott family, the echo is endless. 2 lives intertwined since birth, when gone. One forever shadowed by questions no verdict can erase. But from tragedy can come awareness. Sleep medicine programs now use this case in ethics courses to remind doctors that behind every chart lies a human story. As we close this, we leave you with a thought. The law defines guilt by intention. Science tells us intention can vanish when the brain sleeps. Somewhere between those truths lies the fragile reality of being human. If this story moved you, take a moment now. Tell us in the comments what lesson you take from the Eliott case. Like this video if you believe real stories deserve empathy as much as analysis. And subscribe to Romance and Blood TV for more deep dive true crime investigations told with respect and understanding. Thank you for staying with us till now, and may your own dreams bring only peace.